everybody, and welcome to another edition of Be in the Know, Table Games and More. And I'm very excited today to have someone who I would consider, and he talked about last week about getting Brady'd. But if there's a GOAT when it comes to headhunting in the casino industry, we're talking to the one right now. Mark, welcome to Be in the Know.
You know, it's just, as Keith Richards of the Rolling Stone once said, I'm happy to be here. Actually, I'm pretty happy to be anywhere.
And he's like unstoppable, right? So I always start off the show and I ask people, how'd you get into this crazy business? And you made a transition from one career to another, and then finally into owning your own business. Tell me a little bit of that story. It's a great story.
Sure. I was with a couple of software companies. One of them went public on the NASDAQ. The second one was acquired by IBM. They're in the counterterrorism business. Their largest investor was In-Q-Tel, which you know is the CIA. And so we sold that company to IBM. They were acquired. I retired at 45, bought a racehorse. It's the only thing I ever wanted to buy in my whole life. And a CEO buddy of mine called, wanted some FBI talent. And I said, you know what, I'm out of the game. And he said, but you're still on the board of Make-A-Wish. I give you $50,000 to do this for me. You can give the money to Make-A-Wish. I said, I'm back in the game. Let's do it. And that's how I started. So I've been doing it for 16 years. I'm probably 75% casinos, as you know, and 25% high tech. And it's been crazy. We shut down last February for 3 months. I don't think I had a phone call. And then when the casinos reopened, it just went nuts. I think the biggest problem the casinos had after they reopened was a lot of the people didn't want to come back to work because they were on the government dole.
And they were making, one of my ship bosses was actually making more money on while he was out than he was making in. So I can understand that. Now you're an A-list, I would consider A-list headhunter, right? You don't deal with the B-list. You have the candidates are ready. You're not like somebody rehabbing a home or a flipper. Your candidates are ready for action. And I'll never forget, about 15 years ago when you started this whole business, you had a job up and you had your newsletter out, and I had sent you a resume and you're like, nah, you're just right now you're not ready for prime time. And I was kind of like, whoa, what would that mean? But now that I've been up the corporate ladder somewhat, I really understand that. You know what? The guy has to be hitting the ground running, and they have to know that you have that A-list suitable candidate. So tell me a little bit about the people you represent.
Well, the way I usually put it is, I love Costco. I shop at Costco. I'm a card-carrying member of Costco. This is not Costco. This is Nordstrom's. So mostly I'm dealing with the top 2%, and I'm not judging. It's just that the clients that hire an executive recruiter expect, the really high-end candidates, not the kind of people that would apply for online jobs. There's no disrespect to those people. Everybody's got to work. But mostly I started 100,000, but I really lived between 200,000 and 500,000 base salary. And by the way, you've done really well. You're VP of corporate table games for Jack Entertainment?
I was corporate VP for Jack, and then Hard Rock took over the property. And being an ex-Hard Rocker, I stuck with the HRI, and I really enjoy the company and the culture of this organization. So tell me what makes a candidate that you would represent? What makes that top level guy?
Well, as I always say, clients hire me for two reasons. The first reason is I have access to 5,000 casino executives. So I'm not posting ads. I'm not trying to figure things out. I know 5,000 casino executives. The second reason, and more importantly, is on most of those executives, I can quote you scripture and verse. So I know their background. I know where they worked. I know why they got fired. Or as we say in Las Vegas, I know where all the skeletons are buried. Some of the, really depends on what the candidates or what the client's looking for. 50% is ability, talent, but the other 50% is fit. It's culture. And I don't think people get that. Let's look at a director of table games. there's 100 of them, right? But it depends what you're doing. If you're doing tribal, I think it's better to have that tribal background. It's not mandatory, but it's better because tribal's a little bit different game. If you're going to work on the strip, that's a different game than working in the local. So it's all about fit.
Yeah, and I talk about this a lot on the program with other operators. I say, you know what most guys don't get, like when they come from other jurisdictions, is how much that means to have experience with these different jurisdictions and how they do their regs and unions and tribals. And if you're not prepared for that, you're going to be set up for failure. And I know you do a lot of homework, and you know the backgrounds. And you was talking about, you know, I was watching one other interview you did, and you're talking about the skeletons. Oh my God, I mean, you know, you're right. In the business, you know, the skeletons are out there. Sometimes it's like walking through a haunted house. And your clients, they don't want to get scared when the guy walks in the door.
Yeah, there was actually something in the paper today about a guy from a California tribal casino that just went to jail for embezzlement. So yeah, I think that it is an advantage that I've been around it for 20 years. And so I know most of these people personally. I only work by, let's get that clear. I only work with people like Benny Mancino that I know, or referrals from Benny Mancino who's vouching for him personally. I don't take unsolicited resumes. It just takes too much time to vet them out. I'm a one-man show. This isn't Corn Ferry. But the good news is, if you call the Godfather to get you an employee, you get me. You don't get an associate. You don't get my intern. You get me personally, and I'll see it through.
Yeah, that's one thing I can admit. I've never gotten a response from anybody but you. So what is the difference? Okay, so you don't represent the B level, but what's the difference for those people? What do they need to do?
Well, I think moving around a lot is a red flag. It typically means not that you're unqualified, but that you don't play well with others. Some places require a four-year degree. It's not a Mark Wayman decision. They tell me they want a four-year degree for the CFO. It is what it is, right? Sometimes I get controller positions that require a CPA. Not easy, right? So I would say, and then also there's a big difference between working at the Pachanga and working at Joe's liquor store on the side of the road. It's a matter of scope. You're at a major property, right? So if back when it was Jack Entertainment, they used to come to me, I'm not going to send them somebody who's from a place that has 2 table games and 20 slots because they just haven't had the breadth of experience that you have.
Yeah, and that's very important, you know, and I tell people this. You know, if I got my choice to go to Ajax Casino for X amount of dollars, and I got my chance to go to the Hard Rock or some other major player for maybe a few dollars less, I would probably take that shot at that B level player. You know what I mean? Associate yourself with good people. I mean, I know people immediately if they say, well, I used to work for Benny, that puts them at the front of the line. Because they know how I operate, and they know what kind of effort I put into the employees that I mentor. I mean, there's just no doubt in that. So I think association with somebody that's in the A list is a good thing too. Would you agree?
Oh, completely agree. And you know, when we say B players, we're not judging anybody. Everybody's got to work. The C players and the D players got to work, right? I just happen to work at the higher levels. That's all. There's a place for everybody. There's, I don't know, hundreds of casinos.
Everybody starts out somewhere. So what's the top 3 mistakes that a job seeker makes?
Yeah, and they're pretty specific to the plague that's going on, right? So this should be relevant for everybody that's either in transition or thinking about making a move. What I will say at a high level is this is the toughest talent market I've ever seen, meaning I can't get candidates. I used to say, you know what? I've got jockeys. I need horses. I don't have any jockeys right now. Nobody wants to move. Nobody wants to relocate. People are scared, so they don't want to change jobs. It's too risky for them. But going back to the 3 mistakes, the number 1's money. Don't chase money, right? I get people that make $100,000. I say, what do you think? And they say 250. That is not going to happen for you. Even if Mark Wayman wants to give you 250, the human resources people are going to laugh at me. So a lot of folks are on the bench right now that were making, we'll say 300,000 for round numbers, right? And they're looking for that 2019 compensation of 300. It's not coming. And it's not coming this year for sure. So, maybe 225 or 250 is pretty good in a plague, right? So that the compensation part can be a mistake. The second one I would say is integrity. Don't lie about stuff. You're going to go through at the high end, you're going through licensing. It just doesn't make sense to, and you're saying, well, why would anybody lie? Well, they lie about their education. They say they have a 4-year degree, then we find out they don't. They lie about what their title or their compensation was. I had this with Las Vegas Sands 10 years ago with a guy. When you put the application in and we do the background check, we're going to find out. So be a person of integrity. Also, something that I've run into over the last 12 months, people that I get them a job offer and then they use that to get a counter offer, right? So they go back to leverage their current employer to get some more shekels. Let me explain something. 100% of the people that took a counter offer are gone within 12 months. No company wants to be leveraged for a salary increase. And the only reason they gave it to you is they need time to find your replacement. So I would stay way, way away from that. I would say the third mistake would probably be around, relocation. There's people in Las Vegas, and I understand they have roots, and I totally get it. I have compassion for the family situation, but right now you got to chase your career. There's no jobs in Las Vegas. I mean, a few, not $300,000-$400,000. I have great jobs, but sometimes people won't relocate, and I know guys that have been out of work now for a year and a half.
Yeah, I see that all the time, and you know what? God bless them if that's what they do. But you're right. I think you do have to move. And one thing I was going to ask you about is reputation. I think you kind of touched on that. Is that reputation, to me, from my experience, is everything. If you got a bad reputation, you're scarred for life in this business.
No, as Walt Disney said, it's a small world. And when I talk about Las Vegas, sometimes I'll say, this is Mayberry RFD. There's 3 million people here, 300 run it. Okay, I remember when Craig Nielsen was chairman of Ameristar Casinos, and he'd send me out on a GM search. And when I found a candidate, he would send him to his existing 13 GMs to see if anybody knew the guy or had feedback. So, it's not like Los Angeles or New York City where you can go hide in a corner. You make a mistake in the casino industry, mostly everybody's going to know. So a lot of times folks will go down and hide in Asia because their compliance may not be as strong, or they go into tribal at a smaller place where nobody's heard of them. So I'm working on the CEO role for a casino a couple of years ago, and they wanted to run a couple names by me, people I wasn't representing, and they gave me one name. I said, wait a minute. I go, that guy's in prison for embezzlement. And they go, I guess he got out. I go, well, he's not getting through compliance.
So what amazes me, and maybe this isn't a big deal, but I see guys who are in very high positions, and you look at their social media feeds, and you're like, oh my God, how could he say that on Facebook? Does he think there's like nobody is going to get access to that? And how important is an online reputation now?
Well, I think the recent Capitol unrest that they had is a great example. That's how they're arresting everybody, because these people posted it on their Facebook feed. And so they're going and they're arresting them, right? Never put anything on social media that you wouldn't want to show your mom or put on the front page of the paper. And, you're welcome to your politics. And for those people that say, well, you can't tell me what to do, I won't tell you what to do, but you won't be working, because I know, and I won't say who it is, I'll get in trouble. A C-level guy that used to sit around posting on Facebook during the day, and I thought, how is he getting away with that? And then a couple of months later, the CEO called and said, that guy's gone, because he's posting on social media all day. So I highly recommend against posting anything controversial.
So now I've gotten furloughed and I'm trying to prepare my resume, right? What tips can you provide the job seeker who's trying to build a strong resume? What would you look for?
Well, I'm talking about $100,000 and up. I'm not talking about a $30,000, $40,000 job. But you want to make it clean, no pictures, no funky graphics, no funky fonts. Just make it straightforward. I always say the resume is a bookmark, right? I mean, it can get you in the door, but the interview is where it's at. Fortunately for my candidates, resumes don't count for much. My clients are kind enough to interview the people I send because they're pre-qualified. Will they look at the resume? Yes. Mostly I like to stay to a couple pages because mostly I deal with GMs and CEOs. They don't have long attention spans. They don't have 5 minutes to go through what happened in 1985 because the truth is, Benny, anything over about 10 years old is totally irrelevant. I don't care that you worked as Nordstrom's as an intern while you went to college.
I would agree. And no images of Hello Kitty or anything on your resume. Okay, I get it. So what would you say is more important, knowledge or network?
Wow. Well, there's a lot of talented people, a lot of talented people. The part that does surprise me, because you and I are different than most people, we do network. I just refer, that's why I have my newsletter, is just to keep in touch with people, right? Um, Again, it's 50% talent. You have to have the talent, right? But then once you get there, it's 85% of the jobs come from your professional acquaintances. 85%, not from me, I'm 10%. And the last 2 or 3% is a lottery, right? People applying online. But mostly, when I look for VP of table games, I reach out to you and probably about 100 table games executives. I placed a couple of big table games roles in Macau last year. I say, who do we know? Do you have, I don't like to recruit people. I like to say, here's what I have. And if Benny goes, I volunteer, that's cool. But you guys run as a herd. So I know you know every high-end table game guy on the planet. And if you know somebody who's been reaching out to you, you're going to send them to me.
So, of course, we mentioned the pandemic, right? And a lot of things have happened during it. Do you see any lasting effects or changes in the gaming industry that would affect candidates out there in the world right now?
Well, I think tribal has been least hurt. In California, as one GM told me, and I said, "How you doing?" And she goes, "Well, I'm printing money because I'm the only thing open in all of California." So the regionals have done okay. Some people up on the Northeast have been harder hit than others. The Las Vegas Strip is probably ground zero. It always is. It's always ground zero. And they've been hurt not only by the pandemic, but a change in a customer demographic that's run off the $1 million credit lines. And I think maybe the second half this year, if the vaccine does take hold, I think things will improve. I think slowly but surely they're going to improve. The question is, will this be like 2008, Benny, where it's a 4-year runway to get back? Probably. If I was guessing, I just get up every day. I've had 3 or 4 new job searches this week, and I just try to help a few people get back to work.
Yeah, and the regionals are much further ahead than the Las Vegas market and some of the resort markets. So
now Las Vegas, though, sorry to cut you off, but Las Vegas, I'm talking about the Strip. So your Golden Entertainments, your station casinos, and your Boyd Gaming are doing very well. They've adjusted their business model, to accommodate the pandemic, and they're doing actually really well. If you look at their numbers, it's just the Strip. It's too hard because their overhead's so high, and salary, of course, is the biggest part of overhead. And then now you change I don't know what the average spend went from 1,000 to 220 or something like that. That's going to be tough.
Well, the Vegas locals market has to be hot because of the amount of people streaming in from California to buy properties in Las Vegas. I got a property right there now. If I don't get 20 calls a day to sell the thing, it's a slow day. So let's talk about networking. You put on some fabulous events. I've been to, I think the last one I went to was the top 100, and it's got to be hard for you right now not to be able to have those events because they're very special. But you're known as the Godfather, right, of Las Vegas. Tell that story real quick of how you got that name.
My first event I held was with 6 CIOs that were all clients of mine, and I said, let's get together. I've got some Cuban cigars. I'll pay your bar bill, and the 6 of you can get introduced to each other. That's the value proposition. You're already my clients, right? So we used to go to the foundation room, and that grew. And when it was about 50 people, I had invited up a young lady who was head of sales for EMC. And when she walked in, she looked around the room at who was in there and screamed out, "What are you, the effing godfather of Las Vegas?" And the place went crazy. And the next day, everybody started leaving me funny voicemails about it. And I thought, well, you know, maybe I'm the good godfather. I help a few people get jobs. And then, as you know, we give a portion of each placement away to charity, Make-A-Wish, Catholic Charities, Shade Tree Women's Shelter, Noah's Animal House. I'm going to leave somebody out. I'm sorry. I feel like I'm accepting the Grammy.
Well, I can't wait till the mixers and the networking gets back going. I hopefully it's next fall sometime. But let's talk about the wardrobe, Mark.
Yeah.
You
I should have put it. I should have thrown it on just for you, Benny.
You got some, yeah. You should have put it on. How many of these great zoot suits do you have?
So what happened was I started out with one. I used to help a friend of mine, Jeff Jonas. He owned the counterterrorism company, and I used to help him host the largest New Year's Eve party in Las Vegas. It was at his house, and it was about 1,500 people. It was crazy stupid. And so I bought this black and white pinstripe zoot suit because I thought I'd go with the Godfather thing. It'd be cute. People thought I was the hired entertainment. They were asking for autographs. And so it stuck with me. And then a friend of mine went out of business, and he had a whole storage locker full of these Stacey Adams zoot suits. And so I think I've got like 7 or 8 of them now. And I just kind of rotate them through. And I am hoping to get the Godfather sit down, which is my client mixer. I am hoping to get that back the second half. But we got the vaccination here. We should be pretty good April, May. I think once we get that, although I don't know, Benny, do I say mandatory vaccine you don't get in?
Bring your card, right?
Bring your card, bring your negative test, like what they're doing.
Bring your card. So you talked about giving back, and you know I'm big on paying it forward and charitable things. And your work, I remember going. I think it was it 3 Square or 4 Square in Vegas? The organization that makes sure people get meals. That's the first one I went to. Went to one, and I think one was at the Palms.
The Palms, yeah, out by the pool.
Yeah, that was a great event. And so I know you give a piece of every placement to charity.
Yep.
So that's awesome. So let's talk about something both near and dear to me and you, but different breeds, right? You're a racehorse guy. I'm a racehorse guy. In fact, I got 8 of them here at the house right now, and I still got 10, which you talked about this in another interview, and I don't want to talk about the financials of it because you know what. Anyway, it is what it is. I trained horses for 12 and a half years, and that wasn't much better, but I actually got to drive one. Now, you know, I don't think you've never rode or was a jockey, but you had a horse that was pretty good. Pretty good. I don't know if that was your first horse, but wasn't his name like Gone?
Yeah, well, the best horse we ever had was called Set Play. She won the Grade 1 Del Mar Debutante, which was a thrill at 17-1. I'm sitting at the table next to Terry Lanny, who was the chairman at the time of MGM. I walked over, I said, "You like your horse?" He goes, "Yeah, he's pretty good." He said, "You like your horse?" I go, "Not much." My horse won the 17-1. We sold that horse. We bought it for $100,000. We sold it for $1.5 million, and I lost money that year. Now, keep in mind, I didn't own the horse. I was in a syndicate, and so there was a number of other owners that were in on that. But we did have one called Gone. Back Gone was his name. Back.
Like it, back, yeah.
And I'm with Davy Jones of the Monkees before he passed. I'm at Gulfstream with my horses in front by 5 lengths, turning for home. And I put my head in my hands, and Davy goes, "We're going to win." I go, "We're going to run dead last." And I think we did. He goes, "Why?" I go, "We're way too far in front. That's not good in horse racing, Davy."
So what's your, we'll talk about predictions. Of course, your NFC.
All right, listen, you know what this means? This is Hollywood, right? For rap, because I got to go in 5.
Okay, we have 5 minutes. We're done. So last week when you was in an interview, you was talking about the NFC Championship, and who wins the Super Bowl, Brady or the young kid?
It's -3.5 on KC. I love Brady. I was Dan Real, who's the regional president for Caesars, was kind enough to invite me to his hospitality suite to see Brady play for the Patriots against the New Orleans Saints. Amazing game. Thank you, Dan Real. Huge Mahomes fan, huge. I don't know. You know what? I like them both. I think it's going to be a great game. I think -3.5 is the right number. It's going to be close.
I'm going to
Who do you
call.
like?
I'm going to
Who do
call.
you
I'm going to call the Buccaneers. I mean, I just think
yeah.
their defense is strong, and it carried Tom the last couple weeks. So I'm going Buccaneers and another Brady beaten. So last but not least, Mark, you're a man of faith, right?
Yes.
I'm a Christian as well. I see how much you're not afraid to pour your faith out on LinkedIn and make it part of your mantra and what you do. So what does your faith tell you about the world today? Good, bad, ugly?
Well, I mean, look, I live by several Bible verses, one being, what you did for the least of my brothers, you did for me. Love others as I have loved you, right? I mean, there's the foundations and the basics of that. So, I try to live by that. America's a little scary for me right now. I don't watch the news anymore. I learned that in Oklahoma, by the way, when I actually had a bunch of horses down in Oklahoma on my ranch. I get up every day and I'm grateful to be here. And, I'm a former alcoholic. I'm sober for years now. And so I just wake up every morning and I'm grateful that I'm here and that I'm sober. That works for me. Either you believe in God or you don't. I believe in him, so there's no downside for me. But faith is an important part of my life, as is the charity. And several of the charities, Catholic charities, Lutheran Social Services, Central Christian, probably 50% of my charities are faith-based. So I think that the money that I donate to those charities, they do good works in my community and help the most downtrodden.
Well, one thing, I'll leave you with this. The one thing I learned from this pandemic, and I hope everybody learned, is that we're not in control. When you start thinking you're bigger in life, you found out this time and you're not in control. And one of my favorite verses is, be very nice to everybody you meet because some of them will be angels. I guess that's the.
I like that. I don't think I've heard that one. I've always heard everyone's be kind because everyone's on a hard journey.
Some of them.
And I'll leave you with this: if God is with us, who can be against us?
Absolutely. And I'm not going to take up no more time, but Central Christian, I spent there about 10 years there when Appel was there. And then when the new guy, it's there, great church, just awesome people. Just awesome people. Mark, thank you for your time. I appreciate you being on Be in the Know. Check out Mark. If you're not LinkedIn, if you don't check him out on LinkedIn and follow Mark, you should. Mark, I appreciate your time. Stay healthy. Send me an invite when we get this. I'll bring my card, okay? I'll bring the card so you can let me in the door, okay? All right. Until then, God bless you. Talk to you next time. Everybody subscribe to the channel below. And remember, you got to watch this if you want to be in the know. Thank you for watching.